And we're back with some more oxygen not included on Baby Base. Baby Base, yeah, that's still it. Yeah, I don't know. First thing we're doing is just taking care of a few minor things in the background. One, I did a giant sweep here to get the algae out of here because, yeah, all the fish were gobbling that all up. I had remembered to sweep here when I had fish in there, but I completely blanked sweeping here when we dumped. I don't know how much algae we lost. We lost a lot of algae, I'd say, but it's fine. It's fine. We'll just cancel all of that now. We've got everything out of there we want. I'm going to have all the algae stored over here in these two containers anyway. For the time being, we're getting ready to... Well, we're going to try and use this metal refinery and feed its heat into a bunch of plants. But before we get started, I'm going to move these up a row. And we're going to sort out our food. Turns out, pickled meal is even worse than I thought. Pickled meal can go off. I thought once you pickled meal lice, it was good forever. The reason being, you don't get a calorie bonus from cooking pickled meal. All it does, it seems, is it increases the shelf life by quite a bit. It doesn't make it last forever, it just increases the shelf life by a bit. That's terrible. Anyway, that means we're going to need some carbon dioxide in here, and I'm probably going to want to expand this. So a little bit of expansion work. Ooh, printables. Let's see what kind of prezzies we've got to... It's got to be the poke shell. We already have Drecos, we don't care about sandstone, and we're going to cut back on the dupes just for now until I'm sure we're stable. But poke shells, yes, always poke shells. That will give us more lime. Also, it'll allow us to get rid of polluted dirt and turn that polluted dirt into sand. That might be an idea. Let's get all our polluted dirt in one spot, shall we? 1 second. I think we're just going to put together some feeders. That's probably the simplest way to get the polluted dirt there. Though there's probably some germy polluted dirt around the place. I'm not going to worry about it too much, and we'll move the poke shell over once it becomes an adult. Oh, and yeah, we've got to finish this off also. To fill this up with carbon dioxide now to save our pickled meal, I am just throwing in a coal generator. This is going to waste about 500 or 600 kilos of coal, but I can live with that. Yeah, you can see the carbon dioxide there is popping out. I've even walled it in this side to make sure it should all end up down in here, and we should end up with a nicely preserved food storage area. Well, that's the plan. Oh, and let's make sure that that is fuel request threshold 0. Yeah, let's just make sure it's a very low priority as well. I don't want anyone filling that back up again if I forget about it. And over here, how are we doing on the food front? Oh, I think we can dig up all those remaining meal lice. All right, that's the entire farming section moved up one row. I needed this space here because we want to turn this into a Bristle Blossom farm, and we're going to need about 3 tiles of space for it. So, but I don't want to get rid of my meal wood just yet. We want some emergency backup food, and what is going on in there? There is a shine bug trapped in that tile. Okay, we're going to let that shine bug out. Over here on the carbon dioxide front, not quite full yet. We want to make sure all of those are sterile. Nope. We need at least 2 tiles of depth of carbon dioxide, but yeah, one load of coal should do it. Anyway, let's get this started, shall we? We are installing 16 hydroponic farm tiles. We're going to fill them all up with Bristle Blossoms, and then we're going to try and grow them. Well, we're going to fill up 11 of them with Bristle Blossoms. We don't have 16 to start, but that will be the eventual goal. We're also going to need light sources for them, which we're going to do a bit oddly, just because of the confined space. Actually, never mind. We can't really use ceiling lights here, not unless we make it 4 tiles high. There's other ways to do things, but we're going to stick with a slightly more sane method, hopefully. Well, sane as it can be when you're using plants to delete heat. Ooh, shovels. Yeah, no, we have to take those. There's literally no choice but to take those shovels. They're the best source of food in the entire game. We cannot go without them. Though I need some way to contain them. What materials can they not dig through again? We don't have any obsidian. Normally I just use the obsidian, so I'm trying to remember what they can't dig through. I don't think they can dig through granite. You know what? I'm going to have to do a little bit of research on this. But first, let's get this poke shell over here to eat all the polluted dirt. Oh, wow. I can't move the critters over because I actually have 23 critters on the map. How do I have 23 critters on this map already? Oh, yeah, all of these over here. That would explain it. Never mind. Looks like that poke shell will have to stay there for a while until it gets unwrangled. They unwrangle themselves automatically after a while. Over here, I've moved all our cooking up to this section, which means we're going to have to change over all our cooking ingredients as well. We'll have to go up here, and all of our foods. All of it goes up here. And we can decommission this one down here. It's just the going up and down all the time was just not worth the effort. Seriously, going all the way from down here up to there, especially considering how close our farms are to the area, we might as well. With all of that taken care of, we're going to demolish this, actually. We're going to be moving this slightly over here, and I'm going to move these critters out of the way. We're going to need to be very careful about how we use this to destroy heat. We are going to need to set up a liquid valve for every single hydroponics tile that we want to use this for. Yeah, I did some playing around in a debug testing map in the background just to figure out how to do this. Now, I've heard a lot of talk about doing this in the past. I've never done it myself, and once you get into it, it seems like an awful lot of effort. I mean, I'm still going to do it because, well, once you start anything, you want to finish it and see how it works. But it still seems like an awful lot of effort for what you're trying to get done here. What we'll do is we'll just skip this forward a bit. We're going to have an awful lot of liquid valves in here, all set to a very low number. Oh, and we're also going to want to put in some insulated tiles. I'm thinking, was it granite or sedimentary? Where is my igneous rock? How do I have no igneous rock on this map? Okay. I think we're going with a sedimentary. Let me just double check. I believe sedimentary has the lowest thermal conductivity of all the materials you have available to us at the moment. When it comes to the three base resources, sandstone is not a great has not great thermal conductivity. Granite is absolutely terrible. It's wonderful as a temperature shift plate, but not as an insulated pipe. And sedimentary rock is, I believe, the same as igneous rock. It's probably the best you're going to get of the lower end materials, so we're going to be using that for insulated piping. And there's going to be a lot of insulated piping going on here. There's sedimentary rock. That's going to be going there. Yeah, as you can see, this is going to be an awful lot of micromanagement. One thing to note with liquid valves, they do have a copy setting, but it doesn't really work as far as I've been able to tell. If you copy paste the settings, they don't copy across. So I had to manually go through and set all of these to 32. You can set these to 33 for what we're trying to do, but I set them to 32 because I like to have a little bit of a margin of error. The water consumption rates of Bristle Blossoms is about 33.3 grams of water a second. We're going to err a little bit on the side of caution now. Anyway, next up, we're going to need to put in a water storage tank to hold all this hot water while we slowly meter it out to all of these plants. So I'm thinking a liquid tank down here, and then we'll put the metal refinement right beside it. I may have went a little bit overboard here. The plan was originally just to let the water flow through here and not worry too much about the heat, but instead we're going to vacuum out this area or get the gas pressure so low it makes no difference. So I've installed a gas pump down here, and we are going to wall this in, and we're going to have a sealed storage tank in a vacuum location. We won't be able to get in here to maintain it, but you know what? We'll wait until this all starts to come together, and hopefully it'll make more sense. Oh, and let's make sure that gets dug out before then. I want to make sure that hatch doesn't end up getting in there. I don't want it getting mixed up with all this. Let's skip this forward a bit, and hopefully it'll make more sense as we go along. Oh, what do we got? Ooh, more larva eggs. People were saying, why didn't I... There was some questions about why I didn't keep the larva eggs the last time and why I just immediately cracked them. Reason is to do with temperature. If we grab these larva eggs here, where is the... This is slicksters. They have a livable range of 35 to 160. However, when it comes to reproduction rates, once they get down below, I think it's below 60 degrees. I could be wrong. Once they get down below 60 degrees, it ups their chances of having long-haired slicksters. In other words, if you don't have them on a hot map, you're going to end up with long-haired slicksters who just consume oxygen, which is not great. And temperature-wise, this map is really, really cool. And we don't want to dump any heat into it. That's why we're going through all of this effort. And oh, wow, how is that hot? That thing gives off a lot of heat. I should really be more careful about that. I've been using this to smash up all the sedimentary rock, which was probably where all my sedimentary rock has gone. Never mind. We're still doing fossil to lime. So we're getting rid of all the fossils on the map, and we're also getting rid of all the eggshells. We've also got 9 tons of that left. Well, that should give us plenty of lime for when we finally get this refinery up and running. Well, this is nearly taking shape. We are now slowly but surely going to turn this area into a vacuum. That should cut down on heat transfer. How is that blocked already? Oh, yeah. The gas pressure down here is too high. It's slowly but surely. I said slowly but surely, so it's definitely going to be very slow. At the same time, these hydroponic farm types are made out of gold amalgam, which has the lowest thermal conductivity of all the different types of metals you can make it out of. So you can make it out of iron, for some reason, iron ore and copper ore. You know what? Let's just build up a couple to show you. All right, here is an iron ore tile, and it's got a thermal conductivity of 4, which is actually twice that of gold amalgam, meaning heat will conduct through it twice as good, twice as well. Oh, never mind. And 4.5 is copper ore. So copper ore is slightly better at transferring the heat than iron, and gold amalgam is the worst, which I know will confuse anyone who's used piping before. When it comes to radiant piping made out of iron is the worst. Copper and gold is way better. Yet when it comes to radiant piping, when it comes to gas radiant piping, this uses ores as well. So in that case, gold amalgam gas piping is terrible, but gold radiant piping for plumbing is brilliant. It's one of those little confusing things. That's why I end up usually building things just to double check them before I actually use them. Now, down here, we were going to put in our refinement and start getting this underway. So we'll just make ourselves a little bit of space. We're also going to need room for power generation. Reason being, this thing, the metal refinery requires 1.2 kilowatts, and these 1 kilowatt wires are not going to cut it. And we don't have any refined metal to make it out of, so we're going to be throwing down some heavy watt wire down here. This is what it's going to look like. Well, when it's finished. For the time being, I just swept this area up here, and I'm just dumping a whole bunch of debris over there. Yeah, that's probably looking pretty ugly. Oh, at the same time, where is it? Mando, where are you? Well, Mando has been given the snazzy suit. I forgot to issue out the snazzy suit last time. It was pointed out to me. I finally got around. There we go. Mando got the suit. I think it's only appropriate that Mando got it. Down here, we are going to put in a floor. You know what? It doesn't even need to be an insulated floor. We're just going to stick it in like that, and then we will deconstruct this floor down here as that's no longer necessary. Yeah, I took a bit of time to sweep that all out because I didn't want all of that debris falling down into the water, as well as that I put in a floor as well, because why not? Oh, how is that going? Yes, I'm draining all the water in this area. We're going to run this entire thing on sieved polluted water. We're going to sieve polluted water. We're going to feed it into this system. It's going to get heated up by the metal refinery. It's going to get dumped into the storage tank. Then it's going to get slowly drip fed into all of these plants. And all of these plants are going to get their lighting from those two. When it comes to lighting here, you have very limited choices. For example, this here, if you'll notice, in the right parallel to the light, you'll see that it has 4 tiles left and right of it get all the light. If you put them, say, standing in line flush with it, they won't quite do it. They'll only give out 3 tiles left and right. That's where they're sunk into the floor 1 tile. Otherwise, if you want to use lighting, we're stuck using the ceiling lights, and considering the tiny floors we're making, we'd only be able to shine light on 5 tiles. So these give us 8, the other types of light gives us 5. It just seemed like the more convenient thing to do for what we're trying to build at the moment. Oh, we might want to put in a floor there so people can get in and out. That would make more sense. So while all of that is being built and we're getting the power running and set the battery while we're here, we also want to make sure we've got sieve polluted water that we can use. And I think, but before that, more fish or another poke shell. I think I've already got 2 poke shells. More paku, or I know the paku are more food, but I kind of am going to go long term. We're going to starvation farm shovels. It's the only way. It's just the way it's done. Shovels are just the most space efficient food source we can possibly find. Over here, we are going to go with plumbing. Refinement. We are going to get in a water sieve. Oof. Damn it. How is my plumbing this tight this early on? It just makes it boggles the mind. Right, that's slightly less convoluted, maybe, I think. The plan here, though. This is where all the sewer water tries to dump off. If there's no room in the tank, it goes up here and gets dumped into these reservoirs. Now, I want to make sure we go through the sewer water first because, well, why not? For that reason, that's going to feed in directly into the water sieve before getting sent across here. Now, at the same time, I do want to use this water. If there's no sewer water left, I do want to use this. So we have built a liquid pump down here. This can come right across, bridge over here, and we'll have it bridge on. Now, the reason we're going to have it bridge on is that means if there's already sewer water in the pipe, it won't try and grab water from here. It just cuts down on it means we'll prioritize using the sewer water over everything else. You can come over here and plug in there. Okay, that shouldn't hopefully be too confusing. Do we have water flow? Not really. Another reason being this is going to need filtration medium, though we do have sand. We have smashed up some sand, and at the same time these poke shells are going to produce it. Which reminds me, this is a great place to put the poke shells. Let's wrangle up those poke shells and move them down here. And this is the poke shell's new home. I also left a 1 tile gap here so that they should hopefully not get overcrowded. Though, considering the amount of critters we now have on the map, I'm surprised they haven't got overcrowded. How many? 35 critters. How do we have 35 critters on a map this small? The gateway gifts they get out of hand. All right, over here, what are we looking at? We have 800 kilos of water, as it should be. Well, let's get started, shall we? What we want is 12 of these. Oh, I need the refined carbon as well. I keep forgetting you always need the refined carbon. We're going to need a bunch of that too. Refinement. Kiln. Let's just stick it here. We don't really need to care too much. Actually, let's stick it right there. We only need a very small amount of operations of this. It does produce a lot of heat relative to what it does, but you only need a very tiny amount of refined carbon to start. We need 240 kilos of refined carbon to get the 1.2 tons of steel. So 3 operations will do it. So despite the heat it produces, it should not be an issue. Then over here for the iron to steel, we are going to need 12 of them. Lime-wise, yeah, we are swimming in lime. We'll just queue up 12 of those. But we do need iron. Now, I haven't messed it up this time. We need 700 kilos of iron to get 1 ton of steel, because it only takes 70 kilos of iron to make 100 tons of steel, or 70 kilos of iron to make 100 kilos of steel, because it takes 20 kilos of refined carbon, 10 kilos of lime, and the output is 100 steel. So 10 of these will give us 700. That means we need 840 kilos. Not that I got out a calculator and worked that out, because I couldn't do it in my head. Yes, I totally did. Anyway, that's 840 kilos, so we'll queue up 9. Now, the temperature increase on this is not that bad. It's only about 32 kilos. If I wanted, I could probably do some recirculation here, and we could do 2 batches on that. The iron to steel, not so much. That 56-degree raise is too much. We couldn't do 2 loads with that. But I'm not going to bother messing around with that. It's also one of the reasons I'm not using the clean water for this. The clean water is about 25C. I'd like to keep that for future use. This over here, though, comes out at 30 degrees, this polluted water tank. So, yeah, I'd prefer to keep some of that available to us. Or use this because it's just warmer in general. Now, let's see this start up. You know what? We're going to set that to 0 just for now. Assuming someone comes along to get that in time. These things actually require duplicate interaction for the settings to be changed. How did the power run out? How? You. All of you. Like that, please. I want all of you full of coal. Much better, much better. That should now start spitting out the hot water. It's 60C water. That gets dumped into the tank. Nice. Then we will set this, just for demonstration purposes, we're going to set this to 32. Okay, it's been set. And if you can observe up here, you'll see that the growth is halted on it. And that water should go up and go on. There, Bristle Blossom growing. But the next plant, nothing's happening with it. We're going to slowly increase this just to show you. So what's happening is all 32 grams of the water are getting sucked across by this liquid valve. And all 32 grams are getting dumped into this hydroponics tap. And if you look in here, you can see the water, but it only hangs around for a second, then immediately gets consumed. Now, that small amount of water in the tile, it seems you can't get rid of it. That's always going to be there. I was trying to find some way where it would instantly disappear and wouldn't even show up here. But it seems, yeah, it just sort of has to hit a certain threshold before the plant will even consume anything. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We have 11 plants. That is 352 grams of water. So if we set this to 352, someone should come along and change that setting. Anytime now? Anytime? Yeah, there we go, 352. And now it's flowing all the way up as far as that point right there, and then it stops. And all of the plants are now growing. And they're all growing on water that's, well, pretty toasty. But the temperature in here should not increase in the slightest. So what's the temperature up here? Still looking good. 27, 26. Ooh, not perfect, but oh, that's 29. That's not good. Why are you so hot? Well, never mind. The first thing we're going to do anyway is go into utilities and grab ourselves some temperature shift plates. And we're going to make them out of dirt. That's a good one to do it out of. And say right there, you know what? Boom, all the way along. We'll even put it touching the neutronium. Done. That should keep the whole area cool. Now, what we're not trying to do here is we don't want to touch the hydroponic farm tiles. If we touch the tiles, then we'll actually be sucking heat out of the gold amalgam tiles. We don't care about sucking heat out of them. We just want to keep the plants cool. The plants is all we care about. It doesn't matter if the hydroponic farm tiles are 100C. That doesn't matter. All that matters is that the plants are. Oh, there we go. Let's turn off the water for a bit, because that's going to overload the system. We're going to have water collecting down the end. And you see these are now starting to collect water. It's gone up to 1 kilo of water in those. That's not what we wanted. Come on, quickly. Get in those temperature shift plate tiles. Temperature shift plates installed. We're going to go back to full power now. Let's see. Yep, water should start flowing again. That should be 352. Now, I want to keep a careful eye on this to make sure none of these are overfilling. Yep, no, we're good, we're good, we're good. We just want to make sure there's only grams of water. Literally just grams in all of these. Yep, no, all fine. They should even stifle every so often as they're just they're getting barely enough water to survive. They're supposed to get 33.3. We're only giving them 32. So every so often they should stall just a little bit. Well, wow, this does not work at all. They're starting to stall out again because of the body temperature. Even with the temperature shift plates above them, it's not dumping heat into the oxygen, surrounding oxygen fast enough to keep them from overheating. 32.9. How do we stop that from happening? I may need to go back to the drawing board on this. I've switched off the water for now, so they should hopefully eventually consume all the water in their tiles. How much is in that tile? Yeah, there's like 2 kilos of water in there, and it's going to dump in so much heat. Oh, that's so frustrating. I need to have a hard think about this. With a few minor modifications. This might work now. These seem to emit an awful lot more heat than I was led to believe. Let's check the Bristle Blossom here. The temperature of that is going up. The moment that hits 30, it's useless to us, so it's rising too quickly. Yeah, we literally have to turn this off again pretty much straight away. That is so frustrating. I was really hoping we'd have a way to destroy the heat this way, but no. As you can see, it immediately goes down, even with the added cooling. I've had oxygen just rotating through here to try and cool down the plants themselves. But no, does not work. It just seems like the heat comes out too quickly, even with the gold amalgam tiles. Perhaps I should try a different tile or something? What's their specific heat capacity? 0.150. In pure desperation, I have switched all of these out for iron ore to see if that would make a difference. At the same time, I have hooked up some temperature shift plates there made of dirt to hopefully help slow down the increase in temperature. Now, how long that's going to help for, I have no idea. 25.5, yeah, 25.6. It will slowly creep up. I don't think I can stop this. I don't think there's a way to reasonably do this without some other form of cooling already in place. I mean, you could eat 100-degree water. You could throw it in there. It will slowly, it won't heat it up as much as it should, and you should be able to destroy a bunch of it with the plants, but you're going to need some active cooling solution to keep the plants cool. Otherwise, after a while, they will overheat. That just seems to be the way it's going. But for the time being, we can hopefully eat our way through at least some of this water tank and get in, like, one crop of Bristle Blossoms would be really nice to get in. Just one. Maybe then we could fill out this row. That would be great. For the time being, though, I'm just going to do a bit of a sweep. We're going to dump all of our debris down here. It's not the perfect place to dump it, but it was a place I started doing it, so I'm just going to continue that on. Then hopefully we'll be able to keep all of this going at the same time and get ourselves the refined metals we need. After several further random attempts, I have decided to try one last thing to see if I can get this working. Because it does not appear like this is something that should work. We're going to set that to 200C. Now, if I've done this right, a packet should go out right, top, left, or whatever direction. Yeah, there we go, 200 grams. And then when it gets to each spot, it should split off. So each one is getting 200 grams just for a bit. And it shouldn't overload any of them, is it? Oh, wait, no, it's building up, is it? Oh, don't build up. It shouldn't be building up. Okay, we'll set that to 100 grams for now. Maybe that'll help. What I was trying to do here is, it seems that these things only activate once they hit 200 grams. So once they hit 200 grams, it's like that's the minimum amount of packet size they can have before it'll eventually start consuming it. See? Now that we've set it to 100, it'll sort of eat a little bit of it. It goes to 160. It won't do anything. Then it hits 200 and it should immediately start consuming. No? 300? Come on. Oh, it's overheated already, has it? Yes, it's overheated. So, mechanics I have learned. These the hydroponics tiles will only consume water once it hits 200 grams. Once it does, it will consume it at the normal rate, which is about 33.3. Really hard to make sure that the heat doesn't, well, that they don't overheat. I just can't find out a way to do it. So I'm afraid we're going to have to consider that a lost cause. But on the bright side, in all the time that I've been doing and faffing around to try and get that done, if we go to manufactured materials, you'll notice we've got 300 kilos of plastic. That means we've got access to a steam turbine, which means Yeah, we don't have to care about any of this anymore. Let's just let's go make a normal steam turbine heat deletion device and get ourselves on with normal operations. Before we get on with all of that, there's a couple of one thing I want to take care of. I did a skill scrub job on Mando, and now I've respec'd him as a mechatronics engineer. Reason being, I want to automate this up here. This has been driving me nuts. I have to manually scoop all the eggs and put them in there, which is, well, rather time consuming. Also, if I don't notice it for a while, these end up getting stifled. So let's put in a quick auto sweeper setup here and make sure that this plastic production is 100% automated. Of course, to do that, I'm going to need some refined metals. So maybe let's do a little bit of an expansion over here first. We're going to do what I should have done earlier before I realized how terrible plants were at being heat absorption. We are just going to put in 2 liquid tanks, stick them into a vacuum, or, well, close enough to a vacuum that very little heat should transfer. And then we're just going to have 10 tons of liquid heat storage right there. Perfect. Now let's finish off our refinement so we can get into the later stages of the game. By simply storing up our problems for a later date, we don't have to look at them. So now I have about, I have about 10 tons of hot water just sitting around, and there's nothing I can do about it. Oh well, yes, but on the bright side, we can use the refined metals we've got out of this. We've got about 500 kilos of iron. We're going to use that to install a little bit of an auto sweeper system here. That should be a fairly simple and effective way of doing it. That auto sweeper can cover the entire area. It'll just whisk out any eggs that are in here, dump the eggs up there, and they'll just drop down literally right there. As far as I can tell, the auto sweeper can't grab from that section, so it should be a straightforward, simple build. Alright, that should make sure that our plastic production is no longer interrupted if any eggs drop, which is a good thing. Next up, oh yes, another Prezi. Let's see what we've got today. How many arbor acorns do we have? Now that I think about it, arbor acorns, we have 9. Yeah, no, we don't need any more of those. I think we'll just take the algae. Why not? We don't need the nutrient bars. We'll take the algae. We'll find some use for it. At the same time, I have encountered an issue. We need to get this heat deletion device up, but normally what I would do is I would fill this full of crude oil or petroleum and use that as a coolant while we run it through the steam turbine. Unfortunately, we don't have any crude oil or petroleum. So in the background here, I've been constructing a little slickster type area where we're going to run our slicksters through. But first, I have to wrangle up that slickster, which I can't wrangle until it becomes 5 years of age. And even then I can't wrangle it. I'll have to use a critter drop-off to wrangle it. I also have a few slicksters over here, but I can't get those. They're mixed in so thoroughly with everything that's there. It's an absolute nightmare. Maybe I can get some oil that way. There's another option we have, but you know what? I'll worry about it in the next episode. Apologies for not getting these plants working, but it turns out they are really tricky to manage. They can delete heat technically, but not without some other form of cooling to keep them going. Anyway, we've got ourselves some plastic, we've got ourselves some steel. I think it's time to steam turbine things up and get ourselves some cooling going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, and good luck.